Yep. Big house, no. Yeah. All right, good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me this afternoon, and it's great to be here. And I appreciate you spending the afternoon or short part of your conference with me. I hope you're having a great time. Couple logistics real quick is John's here as our room host, so he will help you out at the end with CEUs and such if you need, and evaluations and stuff and such like that. I'm Joey Schugel. I am the Director of Recreation and Leisure Services for the City of St. Peter, and been there for a little over 4 years. Before that, I was in New Ulm for a period of time and then bounced around the metro in various roles. And throughout that time, worked heavily with part-time seasonal staff, and that's really what we're going to focus on today. And over the years, at least my experience, and I think a lot of you are probably in the same boat, and we'll talk about that, is things are changing. It's harder to get part-time seasonal staff, at least for our experience, it has been a challenge. And we're going to go over some of how that impacts our department, how important those positions are for us as well, and the impacts they have in our overall organization. All right. We go already. I have a computer that is not mine. All right, here we go. So the goals of this session, I want it to be very interactive. It's after lunch, it's last session of the day. There's a lot of fun things happening today. I'd love you guys to participate. And I have a lot of information, but I'm sure all of you have these experiences and a lot of information we can feed off each other. Hopefully you'll walk out the door with some things you might have to try for recruitment or for retention or things you didn't think about. So that's one of our goals, and highlight the importance of our seasonal and part-time positions, and in a variety of ways, what challenges we're all having. There's the variety of challenges in competing for quality work staff. And then we'd love to hear successes. I'm sure some of you have had some successes. We're having successes in St. Peter right now, along with challenges at the same time. And then kind of outline how our priorities and strategies around part-time and seasonal staffing kind of fit into all of this at the same time. All right, so what types of positions do we have in our departments? What type of part-time positions do people have? How about on the rec side? What do we have? Everyone have rec leaders? Yep. So you probably have some positions that are very entry level, and then maybe more coordinator or part-time supervision type of positions. How about facilities? Does anyone have part-time facility staff? Yep. Make our facilities available for the public. Very important. The face of our people walk in. A lot of times they're greeted by part-time staff. That can go a long way. And how about park maintenance? Those of you in park maintenance, seasonals, very important. Part-time staff, very important to make things go. And those are kind of the three areas that I'm going to focus on most today. Is our rec facilities and park maintenance side. And then I want to talk about the difference between seasonal and part-time. And does anyone in here hire exclusively seasonal? Are only allowed to hire seasonal? How fun is that? Is it? So one thing we did in St. Peter, and so we still hire seasonally, but we only hire seasonally in the summer. The rest of the year, we went to city council and talked about the challenges we have when we're constantly posting. If we have to post for a warming house attendant, and they're going to work for a short period of time, and we're posting for that. So we changed that to regular part-time positions, still meeting the criteria, working under allotment of hours per week. So, you don't get into your benefit eligible things. But that has reduced a lot of our having to hire constantly, and we're still posting for these regular part-time positions throughout the year. But that's one small thing that we did that we saw some success in. And then in the summer, we're bringing in the majority of our seasonals. The good thing about that then is you have them working for you. And if you have any of those after the summer, you have the opportunity to offer them year-round part-time positions if they're available, and you know how they work after that time. So we've transitioned a lot of our seasonals into regular part-time, which has offered us a ton of extra flexibility. All right, now I'm going to talk a lot about the value and importance of these positions as we go into these slides. Does anyone have any other type of part-time position you kind of structure differently, whether it's a seasonal or regular or anything kind of out of left field?
I handle officials.
Yeah.
Park board, so they're independent contractors.
Right. Yes. So that is a good point. That's he brought up. He has officials, so independent contractors. That's how we handle it as well. Pretty common that kind of you get out of a little bit of the hiring stages and posting and things like that, where you can just retain them that way. Yes. Okay. All right. So what are the impacts on the community with in talking about our part-time seasonal staff? How can they impact our community? Well, if we're fully staffed and operating how we want to operate, we're able to create equitable and inclusive opportunities. So, whether there's instances of you have a facility that, used to be open 12 hours a day, and now because of staffing, you might not be able to have it open 12 hours a day. Well, that's shutting down an opportunity for our community, and then in turn, it might not be as equitable because there are, different times when people are able to use things. So it's really important when we're thinking about being equitable and inclusive to be able to operate the way we want to operate. So by a show of hands, has anyone had to change how they operate because of their part-time staff? Okay, quite a few of you. Give me an example of one of those changes. Yep.
Hiring field attendants during the summertime, we putting e-boxes on lock boxes, so coaches can get equipment, bases, and chalk out, and do fields themselves versus part-time.
Okay. Did everyone hear the lock boxes? Gone over okay? Is there any challenges with losing equipment and?
We had one piece stolen. That was
okay.
So that was summer.
Great. Great. Anyone else want to share?
Limited hours on our municipal pool.
Yeah, so
Not
that,
very popular.
so I see some aquatics people in here. It's really hard, isn't it? That with our outdoor pool seasons, those of you who have outdoor pools to focus on, that's a short season in Minnesota. And we're usually bringing on a lot of staff. And if we don't have that staff, we can't operate how we want to. And then we bring in, that's usually our biggest liability of our departments is our swimming pools. So we have to offer safe opportunities, and we're not gonna open with short staff and things like that. Does anyone offer lap swim without guards? Okay, yep, 18 plus, yep. Has that always been that way, or is that a change you've had to make?
We've had to change it.
Right, so there are some instances when you can do it. Does anyone do like a parent and kid like tot time thing where they used to maybe staff and maybe had multiple staff and are down to just one deck person? And, yep, same thing. Okay. Those of you who are sharing, I forgot I'm gonna bribe people. I have trees. So where's my guy here? There you go. Yes. There you go. All right. All right, couple more. Providing safe, clean, attractive recreational amenities. Our first impressions our community gets are a lot of times have to do with what we're providing seasonally and on a part-time basis. So when you walk into a facility, is your entryway clean? You know, it's fall, the leaves are in there, stuff like that, you know, or you come to the front desk at your rec center, is someone there to greet you? Are you just scanning in? And, you know, that's those small things. We've had to adapt our staffing over, you know, the last few years to be able to do that. Our parks. Is anyone in park maintenance? So here's one thing we did this summer, and our community did not love it. We sprayed around our trees and killed so we didn't have to weed whip. Anyone done anything, had to take shortcuts with park maintenance? Yeah, so that's one thing.
Lane wanted to keep the no May. Come on, say it, no May. We're like, no, they just couldn't get it. When people would call, we're just like,
That's good. We had some council members who wanted us to observe a little more no more May in our parks, and we said, well, we can't. Yes. The ability to meet community needs and stay up on latest trends. Okay, so let's say we have a hot trend coming up, and I'll use a couple recent ones. Maybe they're not so much trends anymore, like mobile recreation or esports. Let's say you have this great idea, you're going back to your department, and I'm going to offer this, this, and this, and then you can't staff it. Right? So how do you do things like that without staff? So we want to be able to do all these cool things. So I'm just really hitting in on how important our staff is to all of this. Connecting resources and partnerships. So that's on here. So one thing we've continued to do over the years in St. Peter is form partnerships, and with whether it's associations or different nonprofits and things like that. So they're offering some more activities than we've offered in the past too. We used to have youth soccer in the fall. Well, our soccer association runs it for us now because we couldn't staff in the fall, and they came up with volunteers, and it's a way for them to generate some funds for their association as well, and working with them in the planning and registration and things like that. Again, we're all here to hopefully improve the quality of life in our community. So by having to either shut down facilities, reduce programming, jack up your program fees, you know, all of those things. Or if your park isn't mowed as much as you'd like it to be, your baseball fields and softball fields aren't drugged, you know, all of that can impact our quality of life. Maybe it used to be that way, and now they're not seeing that. So then they're calling into the city or city council or city hall and things like that and saying, you know, you guys don't care about our resource. We're paying for this. Why is this not happening? And they don't fully see it either. That's just an expectation that we've set by delivering great service. And then our overall impression of our organization. I always say that the face of our department is not our supervisor staff, directors, things like that. It is our part-time staff, our T-ball coaches. When parents have young kids, or it's swim lessons, they're signing their kids up for swim lessons for the first time. The first probably interaction they're having with our department, or maybe, is with our 15, 16-year-old rec staff. And that's important that rec staff is prepared and ready to go, and we'll get into some of that a little bit. But that's an impression, and we want people to continue to participate in what we have to offer. All right, so what are we doing to recruit? Job postings. Everyone has job postings, right? Okay. How are your job postings? Super long? Are they easy to read, easy to navigate what the position is? So a few things that I'd recommend job posting wise is not leaving out where you're going to post it, first of all, but be concise. Have your position listed, what it is, what the expectations are, and your bare minimum qualifications. And we used to have this long ads in our newspapers and things like that, and it costs a lot of money. I think there's a lot of other effective ways we can do that. Where are we posting our jobs? Who still does newspapers? Holy cow, they make us still do newspapers at times. That's one stuff. How about everyone's on everyone's websites, right? Who uses some social media? Okay, a lot of different social media. How about email blasts and things like that? Constant contact. Yep. Anyone doing anything else? Anyone TikTok dancing or stuff like that to promote their job? John, you're TikTok dancing? Can we see it?
Doing something else. We go to the school. We have a job fair and we participate in the job fair and that really increased the number of applications.
Absolutely. That's on the list here coming up. Yep. Anyone else? Job postings.
We tried Handshake, which is for like universities,
Yep.
and we didn't get it. But we tried.
We are on Handshake, so I'll talk a little about how we do college and universities in a little bit here. But yeah, it's hit or miss. You probably have to have an email for that university then set up. Yep.
Or you have to have like a certain amount of interactions to be able to like send postings to like pull up students. Here's who we think will be good for this job, but you can't send them the posting unless you do certain interactions or whatever.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so then you're advertising. So it's how you advertise. When we're doing our job postings, is your logo on it? Okay, you brand, you have a brand. Is there anything about how you're advertising that makes it look fun? Or makes it look like an enticing place to be? Especially when we're paying like $12 an hour or something like that. We gotta do some other things. Okay, hiring age.
I was gonna say that, I decided to do an event and I have Wayne High School that, sends me people that volunteer because they need so many hours. And I usually do the event in May, so then I can give them an application when they're there, so maybe I can grab them. So I changed up my event just because of that.
That is a great recruitment tool. Does anyone else recruit at community events? Yeah. A lot of our community events, you get a lot of people to come to there. Consider having, if you have something right leading up to summer or in times of, or, sometime during the winter when you're preparing for summer, it's a great way to promote what you have going on. And so we hear this all the time. When's the right time to post? I'm talking about summer now. So if you're going to hire a bunch of people this summer, when's the right time to post?
For all the others.
Right. Right. Well, we normally now post in January, February time, to try to get ahead of stuff. And we get some pushback saying, well, people aren't looking yet. So one thing we did this year in relation to that is we had the first round, we had a deadline, and we interviewed everyone there, and we didn't have enough to be fully staffed, so we had kept our positions ongoing. Is anyone doing that? Okay, that was a huge struggle for our city hall staff to allow us to do that. But we were able to do it. We had people coming in, applying all the way into June still, and we were taking them. So it was a good option. Now, the flip side of that is you still want to drive people to your pages to see stuff. So if it's ongoing, you still have to freshen it up. Okay, so you got to make sure just because it's posted, we can't assume that people are going there. So we have to drive them to see that still. So if you're doing that, but how about hiring age? Does anyone change their hiring ages for any positions? What have you done, Ryan?
Our summer seasonal maintenance in 1960.
So that is, do they have to work with someone who's 18?
Yeah, so there's some restrictions, but through COVID, the state boosted. Well, people.
Right. Yep, so park maintenance to 16.
I have 14-year-old instructor this summer, and frankly, the best stuff.
Wonderful. So the goal is probably to keep them for like 4, 5, 6 years, right? Yeah, get them young and keep them.
Went into the school and met with a 9th grade guidance counselor, who sent a bunch of basically our way.
Yeah.
We did interviews in the school, we're able to hire 15 of them, which tripled our numbers, so we had an army 15 of them, we did a great job.
That's great. We lowered our age, so we've always been able to hire 15-year-old pool staff. This year in rec, we lowered our age to 15 to have that. Now they're not leading programs and they're not one-on-one, but they're support staff that's very needed. So that's great. That's great. People are thinking about that. Yeah.
So we had opposite day at Crystal, we had a couple of seniors. Best thing we ever did. No supervision, come to work every day. Fantastic.
Great. Yes. Anyone tapped into the senior community, older adults? What are they doing? Are they doing park maintenance? They doing
Park maintenance, they just drive around and do whatever we need them to do, dump trash, blow off, clean the grill.
Yeah.
clean the feed.
right,
They just find on their own.
right,
It's great.
right?
They're off.
Wow, that's a good one. Yep, tapping into that. Yeah, we've seen success with park maintenance for sure. Having 80 plus 82, we had an 82-year-old guy who's still working now. He'll be done here in a few weeks. He said it's getting too cold now, so he's gonna be done, but drives a gator around and picks up garbage in our parks.
Our rec instructor position is 18 and older, but we created a assistant rec instructor position that's 16 and older, and just with lower responsibilities. So no trailering of vehicles or leading of programs. If the second person on a paddle program.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so the key is you're bringing in younger employees. The key is then, hopefully we're training them and giving them the tools they need and giving them a good experience to keep them. Because how great is it when you have someone for 5, 6, 7 years? As people had, hired young kids and kept them through college almost. And then, then they're in your leadership positions as they go. Career fairs was mentioned. Very important. Try to get out to career fairs. Some days it seems like, it's another thing to do, but get out. Most of your schools in your communities have something, a career fair, or some private businesses might have one and invite you to. Or try to host your own if you have a facility and invite other businesses.
Well, one thing we did in Coon Rapids was we were very rigid on if you couldn't work 40 hours a week.
Sure.
Now we've learned that there's some people that want to work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or they want to be done by, after the 4th of July or whatever it might be. So you just have to be flexible, get as much out of them. And you find out that a lot of those employees are going to be your best workers.
Right,
They work.
right. Yeah, that's what we want. We want people involved in things, and and our best sports coaches are usually ones who are participating in those things.
And Blaine, we do leaders in training. I don't know if anybody has those,
Yeah.
from 13 on up to 16 and then we hire them.
Great.
For our, maintenance of our parks, we Blaine hires a work group, Lionel Lakes. So, you know what, they're the best workers. You guys can have the, low, low prisoners that are ready to get out. And the saddest thing is they have such, they pride in it.
Right.
And the sad thing about it is they've done it all and everything, when they get out, they would really like to continue. That, guys, they're the hardest workers, so if you don't have them in your city,
Right.
I would suggest asking them.
Right. We use a program called Sentence to Serve. It's usually younger kids on probation, got in trouble, did something stupid, and they have a crew leader, and they come in, and it's through the county. So you check out your county, and see if they have a program like that. And they're doing the jobs that aren't necessarily too fun, but
They never complain.
right, right. So schools, everyone probably has a school in your community, right? Call them, call the guidance counselor, see if you can come talk to some classes. So we've gotten into some high school classes. I've heard that here. We've talked in the middle school. Talk about our profession, like what we do, because a lot of people don't even know what we do. And then, so pitch all that, but then also sell what opportunities you have for them, So that's a great resource in schools, for sure. Universities, we talked about Handshake. If you have a university or college in your town, one thing we do in St. Peter that is just fantastic, and I don't like to spread it out because if too many people find out about it, I don't know, it might go bad for us, but we have Gustavus in our community, and we get work study students. So we don't hire them through our normal process. They are approved through work study and their FAFSA. So, and we do it on Handshake and everything like that, and they're approved for the job, and then we send a job description up so they know what it is and stuff like that. The best part about it, we pay them $3 something an hour, $3.25 an hour. The college pays the rest of it. You get paid like $12 an hour. So how great is that? Now they have an allotment of how much they can work based on their FAFSA. So see if you can do stuff like that. Like Gustavus can't be the only college that does that. So we're giving them valuable experience because maybe they want to be a teacher, maybe they don't have a rec program there, or sports management, but it's real life experience, giving them a variety of options, and they get off campus and get into the community a little bit. So that has been super successful for us. We try to get as many as we can. And then you deal with the schedules. They're gone for long periods of time on break and stuff like that, which is fine. It's just additional staff. Customer database, I put that on here. Everyone has the rec software or mass email lists or stuff like this, and coupling it with the next one, your fans. Promote your jobs to your customers. So you have a ton of people who are signing up for programs through you. Mass communicate with them. They're the people consuming your products you're offering. Got a kid who's been in a rec program for 8 years. Mom and dad said, that was awesome. I used to love going to watch my kid do that. Then they someday work for you, and you promote that, or they got an older sibling or something like that. So we blast it there, and we use a program called Constant Contact. So if they don't want to get those mass emails, they hit unsubscribe on the bottom, and it is what it is. They're still in our customer database and things like that. So, but that has been an effective way. On top of that, citywide, send out a citywide or countywide, or depending what your organization is, an email to all employees, because guess what? They know people. They work for your organization already, maybe not your department, but they're invested in what you're doing. Maybe they have a family member, kids, or someone they know, and try to get employees that way. So we blast it citywide, and we've gotten a decent number of employees that way. And then big thing, brand, you have a brand, tell your story as you're doing it. So when you're recruiting and, hopefully you're passionate about what you do and convey that in your messaging. Anything on recruiting that I didn't cover that you're doing?
Do I want to find out what you maybe other people are doing in terms of recruiting parents? By parents, I mean parents who have kids are that of age, but the parents are like, you're getting a job this summer. And if you can sell the parents on the idea of working for Parks and Rec, that's great. You can sell them on all the things you're gonna provide. Probably the kids have been through the program before, they probably have some sort of experience. Me, I'd like to tap into a parent network and be like, if you're gonna force your kid to work somewhere, why not force them to work for us?
Right. Well, do you know how many, I'm sure everyone in here has gotten calls from parents, like my kid needs a job, right? And the 15-year-old kid isn't calling us, but we get plenty, or parents are coming in with applications. Anyone have a good answer for Dave? We do the email blast to parents, but we're at community events where we're talking to the adults, about that stuff more than the kids. Those are a couple things we're doing. Does anyone else have a good answer for how to engage parents of kids?
So the Facebook, like there's a Maple Road, they have Maple Moms Facebook page.
Yeah.
You can have that's good. You can put your post, you can draw on that page, and now parents really want this.
Great.
We tell the kids like. If you give me 2 buddies, I give you pizza.
Nice. So
They start
basically,
talking,
basically a referral.
Yeah,
Right?
I started
Yep.
talking, I was gonna pay him that anyway.
Sure.
It's your better.
That's good. That's good.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else recruitment wise? Okay. So it's one thing to recruit. How do we retain? All right, some of the things we talked about already, flexible schedules. You have to understand that, especially no matter who you're hiring, people want to do things outside of work. Okay. And yep, and we can offer them 40 hours a week and such, but if you have good employees, be flexible. That's one way to retain them, and sometimes it causes issues. It might be a little more work on your end, or more schedule, scheduling can take a long time, but be as flexible as possible. Training. Who has a training program when you're bringing in these part-time and seasonal staff? Anyone? Can you send it to me if you do? The training program. So here's at least what happens is we work so hard to get someone in the door and get them ready, get a body there to do that, because we have to have someone supervise our facility or be part of our program staff, that it takes a lot of extra time and training. And sometimes we're guilty of this in St. Peter at times. We didn't have enough time to fully train them through. So we try to have at least bi-weekly trainings. Pool staff in St. Peter, we do weekly with their in-service, but then we add some additional training things in there as well. But when you get in the busy times of year, it's really hard to train staff, especially when you're struggling to get enough staff in, because and there's everything else going on as well. So does anyone have a really good training module or program that they throw every new employee through, versus just getting an employee handbook and saying, read it? Okay. Do we think that's a problem, or is it just working for us? Are we doing what we can? We're training them. We have some lead staff that helps new staff. Okay. Technology. Does anyone use any apps for scheduling? Yeah, what's your app, Kevin, again? Sling. Okay. Okay. Sling. Okay.
Humanity.
Okay, so people are using it. What do we think? Is it improved communication with staff a little bit? Yeah. Because pretty much everyone you're hiring now is walking in with a handheld computer, right? And are on it all the time, even when you probably don't want them on it. So there's some great great things to hold them accountable in this, right? So if they're switching shifts, it notifies supervisors and notifies everything going on. What are some other cool things they do? Kevin, anything?
Reminders when they're gonna work.
Reminders. Because you love the excuse, well, I didn't know I was supposed to work, right? So how do you can knock down some of those things, but also then it gives them a better, you have a better ability to retain because they feel like there's more communication there, even though if it's not face to face, which is still number one, very important. This is giving them the more additional communication. That's how a lot of our younger people, at least, like to communicate these days. Wages. Wages are good and fun. Everyone in here upped your wages in the last few years? Yep. Everyone upping them next year already, hopefully, continuing? Yeah. It's a reality to be competitive. Hopefully you're talking to your decision makers and such and then telling them where you need to go and making a case for where you should go versus and not just with other rec departments or areas like that. Find out what the McDonald's pays and find out what, where a lot of grocery stores are paying and get competitive with those, because that's your direct competition in your communities.
Just be prepared that eventually when it comes to negotiations, you're much decisions that.
Right. Great point. Yes. Yep. And yeah, so that is something. Anyone have issues? Sounds like Ryan's had some issues with that. Anyone else having issues with unions and up in part-time wages? Okay. Communication, as we talked about, very, very important. I mean, we're hectic. We have a lot of things going on, but make sure there's a quote on here. It's not about having enough time. It's about making enough time. Make sure you give your staff the time of day to have that personal connection. If they're coming in for a shift and then they're going out to a different location, try to make it a point to catch them and just talk with them, whether it's giving them a couple reminders for what they have coming up or, just to ask how their day is and how things are going. What can I help you with and stuff like that. Make sure we work really hard with our staff to make sure our supervisors are communicating with our part-time staff. Because there are some staff you don't see very often. They work only on weekends or only on evenings, and unless we're coming in for an event or something like that, or coming into the office outside of normal hours, we don't see them. So a lot of the communication isn't that. So try to find a way to have some face-to-face conversation or phone calls. It's just good to check in, whether takes you a couple 30 seconds to make a call on a weekend, say, hey, how's your shift going? Any issues? Blah, blah, blah. That'll go a long way. Continuing, for them to feel like, hey, I'm valued here. That's what we want them to feel like. Promotion. So we talked about bringing in younger employees. Hopefully you have a structure where if they come back year after year, whether they're regular part-time or if they're seasonal and they're just coming back in the summers, that they have the opportunity to step into more of a lead role, and prepare them for that as they go. Do most of you in your lead role, so say your summer lead program positions, are they most first-time hires or are they kids who've been back for a few years? Usually we're always bringing kids who've been in our system for a year or two, and then they're ready for that role, and then they jump up, their pay goes up, which is great, and then we just try to continue cycling that. And incentives, who's doing incentives to keep employees or to bring in employees, I guess? Bonuses?
Hours work and then years they come back. Depends on how many hours they work to get more money. And then 2 to 5 years, they get $100, and 5 to 7.
Nice. Anyone doing incentives? Is that with seasonal or seasonal? Anyone else doing seasonal incentives? Yeah.
Give bonuses, but signing bonuses.
You give signing bonuses before they even work, or do they get that after they
And
work?
then after they work.
Okay. Nice.
We took, 200 at the end of the season, if they met some set criteria, for the shift they're supposed to work.
Great. Start thinking about that. That's another, another option. Or we're almost even forced into some of this because a lot of private sector businesses are doing stuff like this. Anyone paying for lifeguard training yet? Part of it? So they pay up front and then they get reimbursed?
Ours is a reimbursement for hours worked, so every hour that they work, basically deduct back towards their, class fee, and then they get that on top of the hour bonus that they get. So,
Cool. Where do you work?
Red Wing.
Red Wing. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. What's that? Yes. Yes. How about two? Yeah, great. All right, let's talk about some challenges we have. We've kind of talked about that already, but some of the things we have, smaller and smaller applicant pool. Who's seeing that? We post a job. Those of you who've been around for a while, it's something we usually didn't have to worry about, right? And now we just posted a park maintenance position. I think we had 2 and full-time position, and only one of them met the minimum qualifications. So, you know, that used to be a position we'd have 40 people apply for in a small community. So smaller and smaller applicant pools. Workforce competition, we've talked about that, and wages. The turnover, you guys spend a lot of time preparing staff, you know, and then we have this quick turnover and it can burn you out, right? So how do you keep yourself invested in the process? Find ways to do that. You know, and it's the reality of part-time, seasonal type of positions. There is going to be a lot of turnover. So just, I mean, I'm not breaking any news to any of you, but it's just the nature of that type of work. Inconsistent work. So what I mean by that is we have different times of year when we're busier. So those year-round part-time positions, sometimes we don't have as many hours as they want. So how do we keep them, retain them, keep them invested, again, be flexible, and they have to have different jobs and things like that. Another challenge we have, a lot of time the staff we're hiring, they're probably less invested than you are. You know, they're here for a job. As much as we think they're here to help our community and make it a better place, that's not everyone's reality. They're here for a paycheck. So how do we motivate them? You know, and know that they don't have that same investment, but they can still bring you value. And then workload differences based on your positions. You might pay something in parks maintenance, and pay a T-ball coach the same wage. We hear that, like, why should I be driving a $60,000 lawnmower and I'm getting paid the same as a T-ball coach, and I have this responsibility and stuff like that. So really look internally on how you're structured with some of those things, because there are differences in either workload or responsibilities that maybe you wouldn't, you don't notice that, hey, I should value this position more, and this is maybe where it should go. Any other challenges that we haven't talked about yet that you're seeing in your community? Okay. Couple more on here. Job duties. Sometimes we're asking them to do some stuff that isn't fun. Cleaning bathrooms, cleaning park shelters. It's 95 degrees and humid out, and the mosquitoes are awful. You know, stuff like that. Or kids are just awful. Yeah, our camp program, we had our kids were I should use some of the words our speakers said this morning, but our kids weren't very nice this summer. So our camp staff got burned out and had to deal with a lot of stuff. So how do we deal with those challenges? Are we supporting them when we're hearing about them? Because that's important. Like if they're just checked out, they're probably not coming back for another year, you know? Okay. All right, so what are our impacts? And I split it up into a few areas here. All right, so what are our impacts when we are struggling with our part-time and seasonal staff? So between programs, maintenance, and facility operations, we talked a lot about contractors. Is anyone contracting maintenance right now? Lawn care, green care, cleaning? Yep, we do bathroom cleaning in St. Peter. Contract that out. Facility operation. Anyone contract any part of your facilities out? To whether it's to a fitness operation, if you have fitness in your facilities, it could be if you can't staff it, that's a potential option. We talked about, you know, we in St. Peter we have different groups running some programs, or Skyhawks used to be a big deal, you know. Groups like that coming to run some programming for you, maybe because you can't quite do it. How about reduced capacities of your programs? Does anyone have to shut off program registration to a number? Yeah, yeah. You don't want to do that, I bet, right? You'd love to continue offering stuff, but that's a reality when we don't have enough staff. Maintenance, reduced hours. We've had to reduce hours a little bit on how we've operated because we didn't have enough seasonals this year in St. Peter. Reduced hours of facilities. Anyone had to shut down facilities or reduce them? Yep. Okay. And then next one's reduced offerings, again, for programs, for maybe not offering some of your super popular programs. Anyone seen it in swim lessons? Have you been able to offer enough swim lessons for your community? Oh, yeah, we see that for sure. Yep. Anyone using any of their user groups in the maintenance world? Ball field, stuff like that. Any of your associations taking care of your ball fields for you because you can't? That's an option for you. As much as you lose a little control there, usually those user groups are very invested in that facility. How about the friends of a park or friends of, you know, cleaning our park, stuff like that?
We have a mountain bike organization, and track all of the trails on one park.
Great, great. Our
Maybe something.
Great. Yep. Increased technology. Anyone go to 24/7 fitness solely because you couldn't staff it? Or a big decision maker? Anyone offering 24/7 fitness? Or just a fitness operation, you know, usually you have it staffed and they just come in and fob in and go. Yep. I know anyone here from Plymouth? Oh, I think in their new community center, they have a kiosk where they can kind of get checked in, so they don't have a person there. It's technology, and you just check in. I think our conference is there next year, so they'll check it out. So they had been able to reduce staffing hours by using something like that. Maintenance-wise, how passive areas are a big trend in our parks. But for this instance, has anyone had to increase their passive areas because we don't have enough time to mow all the grass and do things like that? Yeah.
Not passive for everybody, it's in your backyard,
Right.
just because you call it.
Right.
natural area.
Yep. Yep.
So I understand when you're in violation of your own weed policy.
Correct. Right. Right. So that's one we have to be careful about, but there are areas that we've taken into account in our community that we have more passive areas. less of a maintenance schedule than in the past. And then we've increased wages, we've talked about wages, so in return, we probably have higher program fees, right? Yep, so that's a huge impact. Anything else that people are seeing impacts from that aren't covered here?
Another thing in technology that we looked at, camera system for some of our parks, because security wise, we can.
Right. Right. Yep. Yep. We get some complaints that with our shelter rentals, we don't have the capacity to come in and clean them on the weekends. So we have renters that come in and are not happy. Their expectations are very high, which so are ours, but they're thinking it's gonna be spotless, even though when we're telling them on the forum and in person, or if we're talking with them, that there's a rental before you, here's something to prepare for, here's what to do. But we hear a lot of that. All right. So some things to think outside the box, and I hope you guys have even more that you're doing. We talked a little about, but we have a volunteer program in St. Peter that our volunteers, they volunteer for us and have a variety of ways, whether it's going to walk dogs at the vet in town, or going to the local grocery store and bagging groceries and things like that, but also being part of our community events and going to programs and things like that. And then our goal is to show them what we do, have fun while we're doing it, and then those kids potentially come and work for us someday. So we take anyone from 10, will be 10 and up on that program. Now, we don't take, depending what our activity is for the day, we have to mix ages and things like that. Junior lifeguard's been around for a long time. Anyone have a junior lifeguard program? Is it thriving?
Not anymore.
Yeah,
It was, but now nobody's like.
sure, sure. Is anyone doing anything unique with bringing younger kids in to give them more of an idea what a lifeguard is and potentially for recruitment?
I tweaked it, instead of saying junior lifeguard, I made it like a water safety course.
Okay.
And that way I kind of appealed to more of the parents wanting their kids to learn about water safety versus shooting the word lifeguard at them. So I worked with a couple, like Girl Scout groups,
Yep.
looking for credits and stuff like that. And then that was a good introduction into, actually, this is lifeguard in disguise.
Great, great, that's cool. Specialized certifications through school curriculum. Anybody's local high school have a lifeguard certification within their health and wellness or ed, or doesn't Hutchinson have officiating? Okay, so they have officiating through high school, and oh, there you go. You got, if you need officials, potentially that's a way you can tap into. We have worked hard in St. Peter with the school district to create a curriculum where the kids in the FIED or wellness class, health wellness FIED, would go into have a pool unit and get lifeguard certified in that unit. And we had it teed up, and our superintendent left, and the new one come in. We haven't convinced him yet. So that is something we're pushing for, because we work really closely with our community and family education, and they operate an indoor pool. We operate an outdoor pool. We both share the same lifeguards, and we both have the same issues. So we are working super hard to get this done through the school. The challenge is someone to teach it. So we don't have anyone in the school system that is certified to do that. So we're working on doing that, and we would probably cover the cost for that. Or doing the school district would cover or split the cost that way. Shared positions. So this gets into a little bit of our union. We can have some union issues, but has anyone revamped a position and had it more shared? So they're doing more of a variety of roles. Maybe it used to be part-time, but you're combining more things and now it's full-time or more regular part-time. So we have done that with some of our, facility maintenance positions and helping out in parks. So they're helping out and it's a slippery slope again because we have our parks union and, but we need things to get done. So far it's worked out. I'd love to do more of it because it's long-term. It would set us up for more success. But if you have the opportunity to share positions to increase those positions, then potentially you have the opportunity to keep staff longer. Anyone use a work source placement service, MRCI or type of organization that comes in and works for you? We have, does everyone know what like an organization like MRCI is? It's like developmentally disabled individuals that get trained on workforce placement, you know, and they're trying to get in the workforce. So we've used those in our community center. We have a large community center and they do a variety of cleaning, housekeeping type of tasks. They're our best workers and they're great. So come in and, you know, and that you work, in our instance, we're working with those staff's workers to help set them up for success. So we match them with their skills and abilities, and it's been a nice partnership that way. So, and they are on payroll and employed by the city of St. Peter. We talked about bonuses already. Anyone else thinking outside the box? Who's doing something super fantastic you couldn't wait to share today that we haven't heard from? Yeah.
We work with our school liaison officers for middle school and high schoolers who are looking for jobs, but maybe don't have parents with them find those jobs or how you would. So pre-COVID, we used to do sessions and go over things, over letter grading, lesson grading, very kind job, how you fill out a job online, all that good stuff. Now we kind of switch to a one-day thing where we go over to the rec center, we go through all the programs that we're looking for staff to see if they're interested, and we actually do mock interviews with them. And then HR will like us to pair them on the spot. We have done that.
Super unique. That's great. That's the type of things like we have to continue to look at. So awesome. Anyone else? Yeah. And it. Right. Right. So talk with your supervisors or, you know, when you're preparing your budget, put funds in there for employee recognition and things like that. Yeah. Buy them pizza on a Friday or bring donuts or stuff like that. You know, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty small cost, but it's a good way to give back. And then it's good team building because they're hanging out together and doing some of that when you're trying to run 30 different ways.
In the summertime, I do thoughtful Thursdays, so it's showing that I care. So every Thursday when they come in, stuff that they would like it, they make the banana into a dolphin, putting eyes on the banana and then opening up where and putting a grape in there and putting them that we're swimming or we're halfway there or something swimming our way through. And just that little bit, they think it's wonderful. So
Yeah.
it doesn't cost very much, it's just trying to come up with some stuff.
Great. Right. Awesome. Awesome.
We're looking at some our hours we work per week and just as a way to have we're not there yet, we're just starting.
Organization. Okay. Yeah, that's important stuff. That's a big change if something like that goes through, which would be great, would help out. Anyone else talking about doing anything like that?
part-time jobs that they offer. paid vacation.
Oh, yeah.
So I
Yep.
don't know how many days or hours they gotta work, but if I'm a part-time employee, I don't wanna work on Friday. Get vacation. I get paid.
Right, okay.
So,
Okay. Doing that yet in Cottage Grove? No? Okay. Yeah. Good. Anyone else? Okay, I have a few slides left, but we're kind of at the end of time, which I'm not gonna bore you guys with that. Anything, any other questions or anything else anyone wants to talk about from today?
Are part-time employees restricted by days they can work?
In what way?
That,
In what way?
well, like our seasonal employees, if they are not going back to school, it's only work 6 to 7 days.
Right, and that's a para stipulation usually. Dale, Duluth, or I mean Rochester's going through that discussion right now too, right? In Faribault. Yep. Yes, so there are some stipulations, some cities or organizations maybe are more lax than others on this. So it has come up in some communities where they can only be on payroll for 67 days, have to go off for so long, and then bring back, then you can bring them back on. So think about how that works for trying to retain people. Doesn't work too great, does it? No. So yeah, so those are some of the things that continue talking with your decision makers and talk about like the challenges you have and what you see and then what you need to be successful, because that stuff has to change policy wise. I mean, there are stipulations in some cases where we can't change it. We have to adapt and figure out different ways to do things. So anyone else?
So one of our biggest issues is Iowa teenagers, but it's getting harder for them to balance everything in life. So we want to tell them, yes, you can be support, yes, you can do extracurriculars, but we also use it to work. But we hire somebody who's like, oh, I just work one day. Like,
Right.
That makes me different.
Right.
So how can we say that without losing some, to like balance that even more?
Right. First off, for sure that's not unique to you. We see the same thing. It's like, but we have some that like the idea of having a job, and then once they have a job, it's like, yep. But it's just that communication. I think, working hard to communicate on what your expectations and needs are. And yes, we are happy to be as flexible as possible, but here's how we can be flexible. You get us all your days that you need off now, and when other than what's on there, you're going to be scheduled outside of there. We need to be able to operate and do this stuff. So just that communication takes more time and effort on your part, but it can help. Anyone else? Well, thanks for being with me this afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your conference and have fun tonight, for sure. All right. And if I didn't pass out candy, there's more here to take. I don't want anybody else.
No, but there is